So now let's go ahead and open up the overlay app, which I will do by double clicking a Tekken Overlay. You probably can't see this right now. Once you see the game slightly stutters, you'll know that the overlay is working. Unless you enable the name tag, you won't get access to the frame numbers, which is really the main feature of the app. So if I select this, then it'll be highlighted and it'll be grayed out if I don't. So let's go ahead and enable this by doing that. Now I have all these options, but I will have to restart the game. So the easiest way to do this is by doing a simple select right here. And just go and confirm, bam. And there you go. And so you see the overlay app or the overlay title to the left of my name tag. And now you're seeing the main feature, which is displaying frame numbers as like a hit effect or a hit spark, which is, in my opinion, such a unique, innovative way to do it, a non-obstructive way to do it, right? Now, if I go to frame numbers, just in terms of editing, I can do it on connect, on width, frame advantage on connect. So I can actually see the startup frames if I wanted to. So here it shows the startup frames. So a jab, I have this 24. Let's see, this will be 12 frame Punisher. This will be 15, I believe. Yeah. And change this to 5. And it's in centimeters. So I change this to 5. Then now it's super tiny, right? You can get it super big. Let's say I do 300. And now it's gonna be blinding the screen, right? And whenever you wanna reset the default to each category. So it doesn't do it for the whole thing, but just for the category you're selecting. So reset defaults, bam. Again, let me do a smaller, let's say 0.3. See, it goes by super quick, 3 seconds. And it'll go by very slowly. Now, there's no limit to this, which I was just playing around earlier. So let me do 20 seconds. And now watch what happens. It's so slow that it'll stay depending on, even if you're doing a full combo, you know? And now look, you see all of the lingering icons from the whole combo I did. Now, if I were to make it bigger, I'm not sure how big that'd be. That'd probably be a little too big. And it still keep the same window size, which is pretty funny. And so now you have a whole row of numbers, as you can see in 3D. I don't know exactly where I hit the move, so it's pretty cool in my opinion. And now I'm on a breakable stage, right? And let me go ahead and load up some of these hit frame windows. And it's staying because I have it set to so long. And so now let me break the wall. Cool. And you can even see it on top if you look hard enough. You see that? How you can see from where I was originally standing, there's still the hitboxes. Just to play around with, to see the type of options you have. It's pretty interesting. And it's fun because even if I do a stage select, it still shows sometimes. Get ready for the next battle. Oh, see that? It still shows. So it can be buggy a lot of times. That's fun. Now, if I go here to frame numbers, you see that. Let me go ahead and reset that to default. Here you can do the attack and defender, or you can select the position of where the frame numbers occur, right? Normally it goes here to the left, to where the frame numbers are kind of occur at Bob's shoulder. But if I set here, then it can go like to 50, then it'll be in between the attacker and defender, right? If I set even farther this way, then it'd be more towards Nina, right? So yeah, you can do, and if I set all the way, then you already imagine. So you can kind of customize where you want it, where it normally was at 15, I believe. And so vertical position, same thing, to where you can set it how you want it. You know, let me just put 90. Let's see how that works. Then it'll be higher. All right, let's go to throw tech. Here, Now I would say the biggest uses of the Tekken Overlay app is the frame numbers and the throw tech. To where if I enable this, save, any throw that's done, it'll show me the correct break on what I should have broken. For instance, I have Nita doing 2 different grabs, one with a 2 break and one with a 1+2 break. Now, and it's set to both of these, which they could happen. It's a 50-50 that either one would occur. And so here's just an easy way to see which break I should have done between 1+2 and 2. And so, yeah, you can see how that's a good practice. Oh shit, I can't even, it's hard for me to tell sometimes, but yeah. So it's a good practice. Go to Hitboxes. Now, this one is my favorite out of the mod. It's enabling the hurt cylinders, collision boxes, detect the hits. So if you see here, now I have a litany of different under the hood visual indicators for my character. So I have the hit lines, which is the red line you see. Then I have the overall like hit boxes, which are the cylinders that make up the character's collection of limbs, right? And then you have it where which hurt box did you attack once the attack's successful, which you see the green cylinder. Again, normal fighting game mods just have like one red thin rectangular box, and then you'll see kind of where the hits and is, like for Blaze Blue or Guilty Gear or Mugen or something like that. Here it has like a million different ones, which is like super comprehensive. It's really amazing. Now, personally, I prefer taking off the hurt cylinders and putting on the collision spheres if I really want to see it, because here is where you actually see where did your attack hit the character. Because here is actually, like, I would say, more precise indicator of your opponent's hurt boxes. You and your opponent's hurt boxes. So I actually have to attack the blue, the blue sphere in order to get a hit. You know what I mean? So this is, I would say, is more precise and super useful in terms of where your character actually sticks out, what's actually attackable. Yeah. And it's cool how you can see in yellow, like which hurt box you attacked. This is second in my opinion on usefulness. Detected hits is cool, but the lingering hitboxes is cool. That's where when you attack, you see the box, right? But the hit lines, in my opinion, is also super useful. How the attack stretches out, right? And where the trajectory of the attack. That's what you're seeing. This demystifies certain moves where you're wondering how'd you get hit? You sidestepped. You don't know the hitboxes on it because there's no indicator. But now you can see exactly where the hitboxes lie. So for instance, and let me go ahead and turn on the second option as I talk about this, the minimap. This is sort of new. And if I enable this, then you'll see a map on the bottom of the screen. And it gives you a real-time indicator of the character's wireframe, the overview of the stage, and it also shows you the hit lines in a vertical kind of view. So you can kind of see where the hitboxes go on, right? So for good moves like this, which has been a minute since T6, which obviously in season 4, they've upgraded it to be its T6 flavor, I guess. You see how big that hitbox is? Now you know why it covers so much ground and it's so quick, you know? Like look on the mini map on the bottom. You see how long that is? But yeah, you can see certain moves and how it works, right? Even for generic rank 3s, you can see why it always clips people if they try to avoid it. Because you look at all the hit lines, and the number of lines you see is the number of hits that you can impact the opponent with. Normal moves just have one line, right? But this one has a million ones. So you can see why it's so hard to avoid it, you know? So just little things like that, right? Same with this one, to where it seems to get a lot of people because it has so many different attacks in one. Now I'm going to skip ahead as I show you in another example of funky hitboxes. So let me go in F1. And there's something called the character picker. Normally you'll know that I'll go here, go to simple select and choose my opponent, right? So I'll choose Geese. Okay, cool. You know, it's you can't really change the stage and you can just change the character in the costume. But if I were to go on the Tekken Overlay mod, use character picker, enable this, and let's say choose Elisa, apply, save, and then now I can change the stage as well as the character without having to go to the character select screen. So for instance, let me go to stage select, and let's select where's Dragon's Nest? Yeah, let's select that. And you'll see that I'll be Elisa. See that? And that was without going to the character select screen. So that's a time-saving mechanism in my opinion. And there we go. We have Elisa without actually having selected in the official kind of game window. And so also for the hit lines, something I like to do is change the color of it. So I'll just change it to like blue. For a character like Elisa, you can really see the hitboxes in my opinion. Now some of her moves involving a chainsaw, which I have a mod to set it to the beam swords. It's like the hitboxes are insane. Like first off, you see how many hits that is? And look on the bottom of the mini screen on the mini map. Ubiquitous these hitboxes are. There's 1,000,001. Especially that one. It's interesting to see something like this, and you can actually see, like I said, even projectiles, and even a move like this, to where, again, look at the mini map, you see how ridiculous that move is, to where good luck trying to evade it, right? And you can see why. That's the thing, you see the why to the nonsense. I'm not saying this move is nonsense, but just to show you kind of where exactly the hits are going, you know? Now going back to the game information, this is the next section right here. If I enable this, then I'll have some info. Here is showing me, which I'll get to that later, how many frames of input lag is the game running under, you know? And more info will show when I'm online, but this is what it shows for now. So I can select the player health and player 2's health. What that does is pretty self-explanatory. It shows you how much health you have left. So it goes down. Kind of similar to, it's kind of like the reverse of Smash, you know? Where it just gives you, instead of a bar, it just gives you numbers. Pretty cool. And it seems here you can add conditional colors to where, hey, maybe if the value's under a certain limit, it'll go to red or something. So, you know, you can, there's so many options here again. There's almost too many options. Distance, it shows you how much the distance you are to your opponent. So the further you get away, the more the distance is. So that's pretty cool just for like, you know, any sort of testing. Online lag. This gives you an indicator for how much lag is being enacted on the system. Bars, which doesn't show up right now. It'll show you how much, like the ping of the match. Frame count. This shows you how much time has passed in frames since the game started. So you can see since I did a reset, it went to 0 and I was going up again. So it's just like a counter from 0 and up in terms of frames. Let me go here to player position, left and right. Now you can see here it's so small. But if I go here to text scale and I go to like, let's just say, then let me do the same for the right player position. And you can see here how now you'll see the position. This is more of a precise kind of XY coordinates in terms of where you are on the map. So again, if you want to do some exact measurements, if you want to train or test something, you know, for content creators, I think it's pretty cool. Like you won't know you'll need to use this until you do. Maybe if you want to test out a move precisely, I'm not sure. Again, a lot of these things I don't have a use for, but it's interesting just to have it, right? So here you have the frame time, and I'm actually not quite sure what that does, but it is this graph here to the right. You have the ping, and again, you'll see that once you're playing online. You have the player 1 speed and the player 2 speed. So this kind of shows you how fast your character is going. So a lot of these are such detailed measurements of the game, you know, in real time, you know. So you can see here, normally the speed is however fast your idle stance is in terms of you jostling or switching positions. But if I go like this, then it gets faster, right? Especially if I do sudden movements in terms of my moves, you know. And that's really fast, as you can see here, you know. And then let me try and do a running punch. That's fast too. Let me try and do a grab. And that's very fast. See, that goes off the bar, as you can see. Now, this next one received an update a couple years ago to where it really changed how you can play Tekken and especially the visual appeal of Tekken. What I'm talking about is not only the custom FPS to where you can set it beyond 60 frames per second, but the interpolation mode. So now notice the game, how it normally runs. Let me just do a couple attacks. Right? Just notice how the game speed, the fluidity of the game. Now let me turn on 144 frames per second using custom FPS. And now let me turn on enable interpolation mode. We're going to do the quaternion, I'm not sure if I said that right, and do it for 1 frame. The lower the frame, the smoother it is. And I believe it means this is going to interpolate and smooth out the frames one by one, right? And so let me turn this on. Bam. And you see like a small graphical glitch because the game's being rendered differently. And now look at the speed of the game. Do you see how smooth that is? And her animations are kind of jerky too. So you can see how smooth this is. The game just got a lot more smoother because apparently Tekken by default has like frame interpolation turned off and most other games have it on. So Tekken locks the in-game speed to 60 frames per second regardless of your monitor's refresh rate or how you're running the game. What that means is that you get a more smoother looking Tekken. And so it's even more prominent if I were to select a character like Miguel, right? To where I'll feel like his animation is more smoother. Now if I have a character like Miguel, you'll see see how slow he looks now? Especially for animations like that. And what happens if you play against somebody and you have this on, you'll be able to see and react to things like lows, hell sweeps, different string combinations, be able to punish better because you're seeing more frames. Not only are you seeing more frames in the same length of time, but you're seeing it sooner because your frames per second is turned up. Especially a move like this. See how slow that looks now? Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty cool. And now if I continue on display settings, you'll see a couple more options. So here's pretty cool. You can quickly get to 2 of your preferred resolutions without having to go to the main menu and into the graphic settings. Set to full screen on my main resolution. In my backup resolution, I have it to 1080p windowed. And you can now alt enter Tekken and it'll shift between these 2 resolutions you set. Now here it's kind of wonky settings to where you have the field of view, which is set at 65. But if I were to turn this, like, let's just say to 40, now you see it's more closer, right? And it can get really trippy. Let's set it to 20 and it gets even more closer, right? It can get really trippy real quick. And I can also go the opposite route to where I can go, normally it was at 65, let me go on 75. And now it's just a little more zoomed out. And it makes for some interesting angles. And if I go even higher, let's do 175. Now it can get really kind of crazy. It's funny because the angles still change when it comes to throws and stuff. So let's go to 100. And eventually it'll kind of reverse sides. That was a cool angle. And again, just test this out, try and do different things. It's pretty interesting, you know. It's pretty interesting. Good for combo videos too. But yeah, normally 65, bam. Now, here's another thing. Resolution scaling. Here you actually have uncapped resolution scaling. Kind of look at Bob's hair as I do this at 100. Now let me set this to 200. And then now I can hear my graphics card going up a little bit, but you can see it's more smoother and it's more crispier, right? Let me set that down because I'm recording and recording at 144 frames per second. So I don't want my thing to crash. So now if I turn this to 1, you can see that now it's like it's being recorded by a toaster. but it uses less system resources, you know? So if I set it to even just 30, then that's something you can normally do anyway. But again, I don't need to go all the way to the main menu to do this. So it's honestly, and you can set it as high as you want. So, you know, you can test that out, but don't fry your graphics card. Enable first person camera. So if I turn this on, I'll actually be seeing the perspective of my character towards my opponent. Bam. Now look at this. Honestly, this is pretty cool. Even me as an artist, like I'm thinking about using these for certain angles. As long as I get a character that doesn't move around too much in its idle stance like Bob, then it's good for like location testing and getting reference, you know? I can still play the game completely as I would normally would, you know? And so not only can you do that, where the character's head points, which means my character, or I can make the angle to be at my other player's head. So now this is a little less janky because the camera keeps looking at your opponent's head, you know? So it's pretty interesting, especially when doing certain throws, you know? Pretty cool. Also, you're able to look at it from the opponent's perspective while you're playing the other character. So I can do the same thing, which is pretty fun, in my opinion. Especially when you do it from the player's head. Pretty interesting. And so for the last part of display settings, you can simply change the font of the entire Tekken Overlay window. So for instance, on the IMGUI default font size, normally set to 20, but if I set it to like 60, then you can see that the whole font size is like huge. And that's for the whole thing, not just this category. So let me go ahead and set that back to 20, and that's it for that section. And so for the next section, Restart Manager is pretty self-explanatory. It has a lot of the same options as Training Menu, but of course accessible through here. I think something of note is the fact that you can remember the current position at start. So if I remember position, save, and it's going to restart this at this point every time. And again, like I had earlier, you can randomize how to restart. I want to restore gimmicks so that it'll be a different side as at random. Let's go to Lag Manager. So here is another breakthrough in the mod to where essentially the guy who created this discovered that Tekken 7 by default adds 1 frame of input lag to all online matches. And he essentially, I guess, just saw the code and removed that. And so here you can set it, you can set the input lag. And you know this works because if I press 50, let's say it's gonna have 50 frames of input lag. And you see the 50 on the bottom right. So if I press a button, which you can't see my controller, but let's say I press it now. And you see how long that took? And you know that there's input lag because if I do a 1-2 combination, let's say I do this, I'm gonna do that and then press start. And so there's gonna be so much lag that it's gonna occur after I press start. So watch this. See, I just pressed it. I just pressed 1-2. Now, let me press start again. And then you see it comes out. So that's how you know there's a lot of input lag. And so normally it's at 1 at the very least. You can set it to 0 and you can remove that frame. So now there's at least 1 frame less of input lag than had I used before the mod, right? And now if you combine this with the fact that I have 144 FPS and the interpolation, then I also remove an additional frame of lag. If you use the enable name tag features, that will give you the hitboxes that throw Tekken frame numbers, but you don't have to use the name tag features once you're reducing the input lag on the display settings and on the lag manager. So that's something to keep in mind. Set it to 0, select this, and you're good. For the next section, for the repeat action manager, this is pretty cool because you can actually set moves for the opponent to play back here on the overlay rather than on the option. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, if you see here, if you go, first off, I have to press start and pause the game in order to set it to repeat action, go to move list, select a move, and I'm only limited to 5 moves in total. It's tedious in comparison to what I'm about to show you. So instead of doing that, I can go here, keep it at not set, go here, press F1, and then select a move, 1-2-2, and then I can save it. And again, while the overlay is still open, I can press select and B, and it'll do the move. And remember, I haven't selected any move here. So this is all through the mod, right? And again, I'm using the term hot swappable because while it's occurring, I can turn this off and then it'll stop. I can press this and it'll play again. I can add a different move. I can add another move. And so I'm not limited to 5 moves. I can add another one. Oh, hold on. I can add another one, 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 another one. And so I think I can do way more than 5. And now it's giving me, and not only that, but similar to the overlay. Let me put that stop. Similar to the normal option, I can change the probability to make this 80. I can make this 20. And so again, you can customize and do a lot of things with this, as you can see. And again, I don't even have to stop doing this. I can just do this, take all this off, and now it'll only do this one without even pausing the game. So I think that's amazing. Now here's another advantage. For some reason, even you can't use rage moves, as you can see. I can't use rage art or rage drive. Even if I turn the opponent on to have rage, I still can't play back the rage moves on the normal repeat action function. As you can see, it's still grayed out. But that's not the case with the mod because I can easily do both rage arts and rage drives. And again, and like I said, I can select those moves. Not only that, but rage arts too. As you can see. So these are just 2 examples of doing that. And obviously, rage mechanics are strong and you can use them once a game. So you'd want to be able to practice against those. So I think that's super helpful, right? And there's other options which I haven't explored too much. In terms of you can do custom moves. You can actually type in a move, apparently. In-game record repeat actions. So I can do the record actions as well here. So let's move on. For the next option, you're actually able to do what you could do in Tekken 7 Season 1. And then they removed it and you weren't able to do it through the entirety of like the rest of Tekken 7's run. Is you can see who you're playing before you select the match. Now, what's the advantages of doing this? Do I even need to say this? What if you run into a hacker, a spammer? What if you run into somebody who you don't want to play? What if you run into a teabagger? What if you run into the same guy who's not your level and you want to rank up or you want to do a deathmatch, so you simply don't want to play him? Before this mod, you weren't able to see who you're playing, so you can only rely on the bars and then the generic region, which is too broad to really determine who you're playing, right? So for instance, if I go to, let's just go to Miguel, to Bob. And now let me turn this on. Next opponent information. You see that? Boom, right there. And so if I see a match, it tells me, as you can see on the top, the nickname, the character, and the ping, right? So for the final game-related overlay attribute, I'm going to talk about the frame history. Let's go ahead and enable this. And so let me go ahead and go through the options. Here you just see it shows the frame history, but just in a numbered grid, if that makes sense. So it shows everything. It seems that left punches are turquoise, right punches are yellow, right kicks are red, and left kicks are green. So if we go to F1 and we explore the other data options, we have the move timer, which here seems to just shows you frame it takes for you to move in certain directions. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm getting from it. Now, if we go here and we go to show attack state, this is like your kind of frame state overlay. It seems to me that the light blue shows you the startup, the green shows you the actual attacking state, and the red is the cooldown. And it's very complex in terms of the visual layout, so it's kind of hard to tell. And there's not really like instructions, but this is what I see, especially if I do like a mini 10 hit, then you see how much red that is, because those typically have the worst startup or the worst cooldown. So that's how I can kind of tell what the colors represent. Now the next one is show crushing, and it does mention that low crushing isn't working. Now this one just shows you the crushing aspect of certain moves. So if I do a normal attack, nothing happens. If If I do a move that I know crushes, then it'll give you a symbol like that, which that's obviously high crushes. Or this, high crushes too. And that high crushes for a limited amount of time as well. But for low crushing, it seems it doesn't work, or does it? Because that low crushes. So maybe they fixed it. What else would low crush? That would too. And so, I don't know. It seems it does. And that as well. So maybe they're mistaken. Or maybe it's not updated, but it definitely shows you low and high crushing. And so for the last data option, there's a show cancel window. And again, it's always hard to tell kind of what's happening when you just have a collection of numbers in colored squares. But here it seems that it shows you the amount of time into where you can cancel into a string or you can cancel an attack. So for instance, and once you do cancel attack, it'll show red. So for instance, here, it'll just be blue until the attack comes out. But once I do the right punch, you'll see the red at the end, right? Each light blue square represents when you can cancel into another attack. And as soon as you cancel into an attack, it will show up as a red square. So again, you'll see light blue. But if I cancel into this by pressing a 2, you'll see a red square. And honestly, that's going to be it in terms of all the options. Again, it's way more detailed, but this is just me doing kind of a detailed rundown of the Tekken Overlay plugin, which in my opinion is the best third-party add-on for a fighting game mod that I've ever played with. Thanks for watching. Definitely subscribe. I actually have an art store. It's going to be linked down in the description. It's an imprint store where I'm making different anime-based like custom frames and prints. I actually have a shirt that I've re-released that's available. That's going to be in the description too. So go ahead and check those out. Check my Discord, Twitter, and thanks for watching.